This webinar has been devised by me. It just gives you an overview of bridge engineering, right? So without wasting much time, let's begin. Okay, before we start, I would like to quote this one. That is, if we ignore the water under the bridge, then we will find our bridge under the water. I don't know who has said this quotation, but this is so true. Even there were many instances whenever they have ignored the water, the bridges have been collapsed. So we should not just ignore the water, even the water traces also cannot be ignored, right? Especially in southern India, when we go to the bridge vicinity during summer, we can hardly find waters there because there are so many non-perennial waters in southern India. So if we conduct the survey during that time, there is a good possibility that we would be ignoring the water at all. And when there is a rainy season, and especially if something like cloudburst happens, definitely there will be a very huge flood. And if we are and if we provide and if we given our design just without considering as a water, then when the flood happens, the entire bridge can be washed away through the floods. So this quote is very apt in the at any given point of time when the water is under the bridge, right? So today these are the contents which I would be taking you through today. First of all, I would be discussing about why bridge engineering is required, and the next I will take you to how bridges have been classified and what are the various parts of a typical bridge and how different loads are considered while designing a bridge. With that learnings, I'll be just taking you to a simple case study of a slab bridge. I would be concentrating more on how the reinforcements would be provided in the slab bridge, right? And next, I will take you to what are the latest advancements in a civil engineering field and in bridge engineering, and then how our career, I mean, a person who is interested in this bridge engineering, I mean, what are the career paths for that person, and what are the various job opportunities available in India and abroad, that I will be taking you through. So let's start. So I just out of curiosity, I just typed in the Oxford's dictionary about bridges. So it gave me these definitions which I'm showing here now. A bridge is an object or thing that provides connection between two separate planes or things. Next, one more definition it gave us: a structure that is built over an obstacle like road, river, etc., or for the sake of a communication from one side to the other. This is what Oxford Dictionary has given as a definition, but we already know what a bridge or how a bridge looks like, because in today's world, wherever you go, there is always a bridge to be seen, either in the roadways, highways, or railways, or even the flyovers in the city, right? So we already know what a bridge looks like. Before going to why bridge engineering is required, let's see some of the natural bridges in the world, right? So this particular one is a Rainbow Bridge in Utah, that is in America, and this is the highest bridge in the world, natural bridge in the world. And the next picture which you are seeing is from Tirumala Hills, which is again in India. And next we have Overcomer Bridge in Utah again. So these are just few examples of a natural bridges which are found across the world. So we already have these natural bridges. So just a brainstorm time now. Like, did you know that the human nose is called a natural bridge? Like, have you ever thought why this nose is referred to as a bridge? Right? Maybe we can try to do a small exercise. Like, we can put a drop of water on our forehead, and let's see how it drops down. Like, whether it drops down through on the bridge of the nose, like here, or like if you put a drop of water here, it will travel like this and then it will fall down. What if this bridge is not there? It would just end up in your mouth, right? So one of the other viewpoint which I would like to mention here is whoever is in spiritual path, right, they are very eager to control their airflow through nose, right? So they are controlling their breathing through this particular nose bridge, and with that, this nose acts as a bridge between a spiritual world and visible world. So whoever has named this as a bridge, did he think of this? Then that's why he called it as a bridge. I seriously doubt about that. Basically, it's a thing to ponder when you are free, or just give a thought when why is it called a nose bridge? Why is this called a nose bridge? So again, if we already have those natural bridges, then why do we need to learn bridge engineering? The first, I mean, you can see those bridges, since they are naturally made or naturally occurred, they are not available at wherever we require, right? So for example, we want to connect from this place to that place, and we don't have natural bridge there. So basically, we need something to be built to connect those places. In cities, you can see many flyovers, right? So this is basically to avoid congestion and traffic. So these are the requirements, like why we need to go for, why we need to do, why bridge engineering is required for. So having understood why it's required, let's see what bridge engineering is. So bridge engineering consists of its planning and the design, construction, and maintenance of a bridge. So when we design, a bridge should have adequate strength and safety. That means whatever load that is coming on a bridge, it should be safely transferred to the soil, right? We refer to so many codes and clauses wherein they are just like a guides, which gives us a confidence that if we design or if we give this much of dimensions or this much size, then our bridge would be safe to transfer the loads, right? So again, nowadays, just giving a bridge is not sufficient, right? Earlier days, we used to give bridge with so many huge dimensions, and they were so uneconomical, and they were so non-sustainable. Now sustainability has given a primary importance in the world because of our human footprints on the planet, right? So now sustainable, now we are designing a bridge which would be more sustainable in the sense, when we construct a bridge, we can construct with so many different materials. So how can we make a simple bridge which could be more sustainable? Let's say we have option between stone, and then we have an option between concrete, and then there is steel bridge. So we will be evaluating which way, if we build the bridge with which material, that would be more sustainable. So we will do some calculations, or we will work out which would be causing less footprints on the planet. So that's a part of sustainability. That's what nowadays we would also working on that aspect also. So if we don't design our bridges properly, or if we don't construct our bridges properly, what happens? So one of the best example you can see on the screen is Tacoma Narrow Bridge. You could see it's a suspension bridge here, and within, as soon as the bridge has been opened, within few days or within 1 or 2 days, you could see the entire deck, the superstructure. For those of you who are not familiar with these words, superstructure, deck, whatever, you will be understanding over the presentation. I will take those topics in the future, in the coming slides, right? You could see this part here, it's been just gave way, right? And this part, the reason for that is due to the dynamic nature of the wind. You could see generally the wind at above the water will be, generally it will be very high, and in addition, this bridge is of a very higher in nature. So the designer didn't account the dynamic aspects of the wind properly, and because of which this bridge has been collapsed. And this collapsing was recorded live because they have fixed some cameras there, and you can just Google it. You will find how the bridge actually wobbled during the effect of wind. And there were so many cases in New Delhi, and there was in Kolkata. We have seen like 2 to 3 bridges have been collapsed in the past, right? So just Google it, you will find so many bridges which are been collapsing. So why they are collapsing? They are collapsing either because the design may be faulty, or because the construction materials which they are used, they can be faulty, or there be substandard goods have been used, right? So there are so many reasons, but primarily I'm concentrating more on the design now. So next we will go to bridge classification. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, bridges can be classified into various types. The factors can be let's say, let's talk about the first one, the materials, right? So based on the material, the bridge can be classified as a timber. Timber is basically wood, right? So in a general layman's term, if we talk, like, is a wooden bridge. And then there is steel, concrete, composite. So composite bridge is basically, it can be a mixture of steel and concrete, or concrete of different grades, right? Then PSC, that is pre-stressed concrete bridges. So there is a difference between concrete and pre-stressed concrete, right? Which anyone who is from civil engineering background will definitely come across these words. So based on the material, the bridges can be classified as shown here, right? The timber bridges, generally people of India, right? We can see these wooden bridges, especially the naturally occurring wooden bridges in northeastern part of India, right? There are so many bridges which look very beautiful, right? So next, about based on the length. So different codes or different standards or different countries with their codes, they have defining bridges based on their length. Like some call it as long span bridges, and in some countries they are just using major bridges, minor bridges, and then the culverts. So if you look into IRC code, which is basically Indian Road Congress, right? So the code, I mean, the bridge code of India, a part of which deals with the loads. So it defines culvert as a bridge which has length which is less than 6 meters, something. I mean, different codes define the bridges based on the length. So, and next, based on the type of superstructure. So again, superstructure we will deal in the next slides. Based on the superstructure, it can be a slab bridge, it can be a beam bridge, truss bridge, cable stayed bridge, suspension bridge. The earlier photo which I showed, right? So I mentioned it was a suspension bridge. And Golden Gate in San Francisco, that's a suspension bridge. And the famous Mumbai Worli Sea Link, it's a cable stayed bridges, right? And the truss bridge, I will show in the next slide how the truss bridge looks. Maybe just example, right? So based on the superstructure, the bridges are classified as shown here. So again, the next is a function. So for what purpose the bridge is being built? Whether it is for roads, I mean, whether it is to connect two places with the highway, or is it to connect the places with railways, or it's just people want to cross it through by walking or by so pedestrian bridge, or in viaduct, right? So or aqueduct. So these two terms, like aqueduct, like the pipes which generally carry water from one place to other place, so they are the aqueducts, right? Next we have connection of parts, like how in superstructure how the parts have been connected, like it's a pin joint, or it's a riveted, or it's a welded, right? So based on how the various parts in the superstructure are connected, they can also be classified as a riveted bridge, welded bridge, pinned bridge. So again, next we have road level with respect to high flood level of river, like whether that river, it, water is allowed to flow over it, or it's just water is kept it below. In the sense whether we are building the bridge higher than the water level, or it's below the water level. Then for navigation purpose, so there are few bridges in the world where you can see when as the ship enters, that bridge will slowly, it will lift up, or it will just swing sideways, right? Or it just transports into that direction. If it just lifts up, it's called a bascule bridge. You can just Google it. It's very interesting to see when the steamer or when the ship approaches. You could see from both sides the lift, I mean the bridge will just lift in the upward direction. So again, the next we have classification based on the service, whether is it a temporary bridge or it's a permanent bridge. Temporary bridges are generally built during case of disasters or during a military purposes, right? So that's just a temporary. The next one is regarding degree of redundancy. So what exactly is redundancy? We have already been come across in our BE civil engineering courses, like what exactly is redundancy. So redundant statically determined or indeterminate. So what is statically determined structures? Those structures whose forces can be solved by using the three equilibrium equations. If that is possible, then they are called statically determinate. Else it is statically indeterminate. So we have so many classifications. So what's the purpose of this classification, right? We can call 1 crore or we can call like 10 power of some. So based on our usage, based on whichever is convenient, we will call. That's the reason we have so much of broad classification in the bridges. One more brainstorm time now. You can see this is just a picture of Forth Bridge, which is in Scotland. So have you wondered whether is it a statically determined structure or statically indeterminate structure? Think about it. I am not disclosing the answer. You can see there is a truss bridge here. So earlier I mentioned I will show you a truss bridge. So here you can see there are truss. So just think whether is it a statically determinant or not. So next we will go to parts of a bridge. Okay. So what are the main parts? I'm not dealing with each and very small parts of the bridge. I've just broadly classified what are broadly showing the different parts of a bridge. You can see the superstructure, then there is a substructure, and then there's a foundation, right? You can see the superstructure is this part, and the substructure, you can see these are piers, and then the foundation is below this, which can be something like this. It's a just rough diagram here. Notably, what is superstructure here? So whenever you see a bridge or whenever you travel on the bridge, I will show you in the next slide with some pictures which would easily help you to understand what exactly is superstructure. And one more thing which I'm highlighting here is this is a very important part of a bridge. So this part is called bearings, right? So this bearings, it connects from substructure to superstructure, and the function of bearing, it again varies as per the project. So the primary aim is to transfer all the forces from superstructure to substructure. And again, there are different types of bearings: elastomeric bearings, rocker bearings, pin jointed bearings. Again, it's actually a project requirement. So what are the kind of bearings we are going to use? So, okay, the superstructure. You see this part here, like this is the superstructure. What you can see in the superstructure here is this central part. There's a black one which we laid. It's called surface cores. And then we have this here. You can see the crash barriers, we call it. And then there will be curbs below a crash barrier. If the crash barrier is of handrail type, you can see here, right? So below there will be one concrete thing. I mean, concrete structure would be there to hold the crash barrier, to hold the handrail. So that is called curb, KERB, curb, right? And surface course is there, crash barrier, curb, and then footpath. This is one of the picture from India. You can see this part here. This is also a part of superstructure where you can see the footpath. Well, there is a hole here which we'll ignore. Okay, we can, that's common in India at least, right? Okay, it's again a brainstorm time. So whenever we construct a bridge, we go from foundation to superstructure, right? Foundation is that part which is below the soil. Understanding, I could say foundation is a part that is below the soil, and above it comes the substructure. You can see generally the piers, and then above it, above the piers or above the substructure, there is superstructure. So when we start constructing, we go from the down, right? So first we will construct the foundation, then the substructure, then the superstructure. Interestingly, there was one photo which was circulating in WhatsApp, like wherein the site a mason or a site engineer was asking the design office, we have already constructed superstructure and substructure, please send us the foundation drawings. That was so funny because title of that was like civil engineer can do anything. So when we do the design submission, so how would we submitting, right? Whether we would be submitting the same as the construction? No, because when we start designing, what our main aim is to transfer loads from top to bottom, right? So the first load which comes into the design was of superstructure. So first we would be working out on our superstructure. Once we have the load values of superstructure, then we will apply it on the substructure. Then we will do the substructure design. Once we have the values of both superstructure and substructure, then we will apply them on the foundation. So basically, when we do the design submission, it's just opposite to the construction method from top to bottom for any general type of bridges. Basically, in India, at least the design company tries to get money as quickly as possible by submitting superstructure design first. But the contractor is very intelligent. He's not interested in the superstructure design because he cannot do anything with that. All he needs the first part is the foundation, right? Okay. So next, let's move on to loads on a bridge. So what are the various loads that act on a bridge? The first one, it's obviously the self weight. Any bridge you consider, its self weight will be always acting on it. And then we have superimposed loads. Earlier in the photographs, I showed you the crash barrier, curb, and then there will be dividers, the surfacing cores. Like these are all considered as a superimposed loads, and these needs to be considered. So again, why they're all combined under superimposed loads? Because you can see, like when we do the load combination, like we have a certain factor for each load, right? The self weight will have some factor. Again, superimposed loads will have some factor. So instead of individually multiplying each load, so we'll combine it and together we will multiply that factor. Then live load or vehicle loads. We will talk more about live load in the next slide. So for a time being, let's move on. Live loads is basically all the vehicles you see or the people that travel or that whoever their loads on a bridge. So that's our live loads. And next we have footpath load. Again, I showed you, right? So on that footpath, there will be people traveling. In India, even motorbikes travel on the footpath. So those loads need to be considered. And next important thing is temperature, right? So a temperature load, where does it play a significant role? In places in cities like Delhi or maybe in the Rajasthan, some Surat, I'm not sure. So where the temperature goes like 50 degrees Celsius. So that's the time. I mean, you can see the concrete, the steel, or whatever material they're used. They will definitely tend to behave differently when the temperature has been in very high state. It may be it's extreme temperatures, like it can be very hot as 50 degrees Celsius or as cold as -5 degrees Celsius. So when there is that much variation in the temperature, obviously there will be extra loads or there will be extra stresses will be induced in the parts of our bridges. So that extra stresses needs to be considered in our design. So how to consider that? Again, different codes would suggest you how to calculate these temperatures. So again, so this temperature also needs to be considered. Wind load. So generally in wind load need not be considered for all the structures. Generally we ignore for smaller structures, and again it depends on the wind velocity also. Especially for long span bridges and cable stayed and suspension bridges, wind load has to be considered because it is one of the most dynamic effect which would make the bridge sway everything. So there the wind is very much important. Again, based on the velocity of the wind, we can work out how much load it's going to act on our bridge. Snow load, it's basically placed, it depends on the places. In India, maybe in the northern parts of India, and for other European countries and the northern hemisphere and southern hemispheres countries, generally snow occurs generally. Right. So in those places, if our bridge is going to be built, then we need to consider that snow load. Then this earth pressure. This earth pressure does not act on all the components of a bridge. Right. The deck or the superstructure will be generally above the earth, I mean above the ground level. So generally, if it's a simply supported condition, then the earth pressure will not have any effect on the deck, but it will have its effect on the abutments. Those are the first structures which will hold the soil behind our bridge in a place, right? So this earth pressure load needs to be considered for design of those abutments and its foundation.